Hey guys, welcome to Spiritual Journey. My name's Colleen Jorgensen, and I am your astrologer if you don't know me already. And today I want to talk about the upcoming Neptune transit or ingress into the sign of Aries. And it is set to arrive on March 30th at 5:58 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Central Standard Time, 4:58 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that would be 7:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time if you live in North America. So I want to talk about this. This is a pivotal moment in our journey forward. And there is no better planet that I like to talk about than Neptune. And Neptune is often missed in an astrological chart. It's quite often this planet that is really vague and, houses all of those magical things like psychic, intuitiveness, mediumship, and the world beyond our physical world here and now. And thus, it really is connected to our faith and our belief system in the things that we cannot see. And that's what makes it really magical and most important as it moves into this very physical sign of Aries. So this arrives like almost so close to this solar eclipse that we're going to have on the 29th of March. And it's a partial solar eclipse and it's a new moon. So we're just launching into a couple things. And what I'm finding really amazing about this ingress of Neptune, it's really coinciding with a lot of things that are indicating that now we are now launching into a new beginning, the fresh start of something, and that we are, it's a really pivotal moment in time. So Neptune, almost like a fighter jet or an airplane, is being flanked by two fighter jets sort of leading its way through into this rebirthing stage that's happening on the 30th. So these two little fighter jets that are flanking Neptune are Venus and Mercury. And these two little inner planets at this moment in time are retrograde. And what retrograde means is that we're pulling back, we're stalling, we are reviewing our options, we are reconsidering various stance that we've taken, and we're just like pulling back a little bit and figuring out what we like and what this conversation is going to look like in the future. So, there could be a lot of rhetoric about the past or past decisions, but we're not really moving forward. Yeah, Neptune is moving forward. And this ingress of Neptune, we must acknowledge these two flanking planets that are going to be crossing over Neptune during their retrograde period and really crossing over that 00 degrees of Aries. And so we have a whole group of planets here with this ingress as well that are all the way from 24 degrees of Pisces, which is where Saturn is sitting, and all the way to 24 degrees of Aries, where the moon in this ingress chart and Aries is sitting. and they're joined, like they're almost like the moon is right on top of Aries. And that energy alone is really pivotal in stepping forward and initiating protests and issues of exclusion and those things where you didn't belong or certain people didn't belong. And so this 00 degree mark that Neptune is going to cross here is also a really important point. And this 00 degrees is the world axis. And this is therefore going to involve the entire world. And the action is going to be almost immediate. And whatever is transpiring is going to really reveal itself pretty quickly because of this 00 degrees of Aries. Now, this pivotal point marks a shifting, the same with 00 degrees of Cancer or Libra or Capricorn. There's a shifting here, there's a new initiative. This is the beginning of each season that we have. And of course, the ancients and our ancestors really paid attention to this marker because they have it in a lot of land bases and they really celebrated these points. And we are celebrating the ushering in of spring, in fact, today as I'm doing this video at 00 degrees of Aries as the sun ingresses there. So the sun is going to trigger this, which is leadership, desires, goals, and ambitions. Then we have this new moon, which is also about initiatives, new beginnings, and the seeds are being planted right here and now. And then we have these two flanking planets that are really going to cross over and have already done so, triggering this 00 degree. So there's a lot going on in world events, a lot of shifts that are taking place that are pretty dramatic, and we've seen it from the United States and Mercury in her retrograde and the shifting alliances that we're experiencing and new trends that are being emerged into our sphere of thinking. So Mercury, Venus is going to cross this point first on February the 5th. So if you go back even on world events and find out what started to manifest, of course, we've had a lot of these issues with tariffs and goods. Goods is Venus. So we've got also Mercury first cross this point, March 3rd, as Mercury stationed retrograde. So Venus is going to cross the 00 degree. I can't underestimate how important this 00 degrees is. So Venus is going to cross this on March 26th, just before we have that new moon, followed by Mercury a day before Venus, right at the point of this solar eclipse that's happening with this new moon. So there is like such a ramp up of energy here, almost like the earth is in process and the whole universe on both sides of the fence, in the spiritual world and in the physical, this third dimensional world, that we are at a point where we're shifting. And we are in the throes of labor, ready to birth something new. And it's hard. It's hard. Labor is really hard. And so many of you could have been finding that you're in this space of time that's really no man's land, that there's a lot of confusion. People are acting weird. There's a lot of bizarre things that are transpiring that you can't get your head around, and you're wondering what the heck is going on. So Neptune is going to then make his entrance into this sign of Aries on the 30th of March. Now, Neptune is a collective planet. So that means also that it's not just the individual that's going to be impacted, but the entire group of people here on Earth. So it's a pivotal moment. It is exciting, and yet it's a bit scary. Because we don't know with Neptune what exactly is going to happen. So, what astrologers generally do is we go back in history and we go, well, what was happening the last time Neptune stepped into this sign? So we have Neptune spends about 14 years in each zodiac signs, and it takes approximately 165 years to rotate around the sun. And so if we shuttle back that far, we're going to end up in 1861, I believe it is. And that was, of course, April 13th of 1861. And that, of course, was the beginning of the Civil War in the United States. So just keep that in mind. Here, Neptune's going to go into Aries. It's going to stay there until October. It's going to retrograde back into Pisces. And then Neptune is going to be fully in Aries as of January 27th of 2026. And it's going to be there until 2038. So this is a long haul. Mercury is going to join Neptune on April 16th and 17th at 00 degrees. And Venus will do this, join with Neptune on May 2nd and 3rd. So pay attention to these dates that I'm giving you because they're pivotal activity that is going to happen in around those dates. And so because we have these two planets that are ushering in the energy of Neptune, we have to kind of discuss, and they're really important, as to what is going to transpire with some of these new initiatives that are taking place. And they are a catalyst, really, for what is happening with Neptune's first ingress into this fresh new energy and the birthing of something new. So, as I've said, like we could all be going around and have gone all around, sort of going, what is happening? Like, what is going on here on the world stage? There's a lot going on, both with previous alliances and relationships and with trade agreements. And both of those are related to Venus and Mercury. So Mercury is really about commerce and communication. It's about trade, trade routes. It's about negotiations and agreements and about tariffs. And it's about information. So now we almost see the disillusion of some of these old tariffs and old agreements that we've had. And that's what Neptune does. It just dissolves that which once existed. Venus now is in relation to those alliances, those relationships, those diplomatic ties. It's about that morality and the value that we both share in these agreements. And it also creates financial stability. These agreements and our partnerships develop stability. and they stabilize the income of not only the individual but of the countries. So it's our likes and our dislikes. What do we want to buy? What don't we want to buy? What is good? What is good service? What is worthy of our effort to obtain it? Whether that's a new relationship or whether that's buying a new car. So that also, as these two planets are flanking Neptune, we have this colliding and this disillusion, dissolving of some of these partnerships, these alliances, these agreements in commerce, and negotiations are or could be happening because of the retrograde. What do I want, really? And that's what a retrograde is doing here, is reconsidering the steps that for those disillusionment. How is that going to impact the United States in their disillusionment of alliances with co-countries like Mexico and Canada, and other Commonwealth countries that they have been in alliance with? And then what does that look like in a reconsideration if they are aligning with people who used to sort of be their enemies? Because enemies are here in Pisces. And so who are our enemies, and are they really trustworthy with the Mercury here? So we have this unbelievable events that are really transpiring that many people are trying to wrap their heads around. And how is that going to affect me going forward? And so I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. How is that going to affect my relationship if I want to travel to the United States? And what does who can I trust here? So there's this sense of being in no man's land. We don't know what's going to happen as of yet with the retrograde planets. And because of Mercury and Neptune is still in Pisces, and Venus, we have, and Neptune rules Pisces. So there's this element of unconsciousness that's still with us, that we are not aware of certain backroom deals that are going on. So we have Mercury and Neptune colliding, and this is conscious. And when unconscious, and when Neptune moves into Aries, we get consciousness, awareness. We're told, perhaps. But can you trust Neptune? Maybe again, somebody is spinning a web of deceit. So we have these hunches, these conspiracy theories that actually now come into realization. We have these perceived lies or lies transferring over into the truth as the disillusionment of the veil begins to fall. We are out of touch with reality, and then we are motivated to solve or become involved in this. So we're really at the cusp of something, and we don't know how to react yet, even though Mercury and Venus have been crossing that 00 degrees. With the Venus, we go from persuasiveness, trust me, I'm never going to do that, don't worry, to, oh, I get it, and now I have to take action, initiatives. There's disillusionment of alliances, and then there is alliances recreated. There is sidetracking, and then there's a lack of trust, really, and evasiveness of somebody moving and not knowing what exactly they're doing. There's the breaking of trust here. And we must be aware of that we believe somebody, but they've broken our trust. There's the elimination of goods and services, and we're already seeing that. We, in conjunction with Pluto moving into Aquarius, the crumbling of businesses, the Bay, which has been a business in Canada since the 1600s or before, is now crumbling. It's dissolving in the court system through bankruptcy. So we can have stores closing, but then we can also have the initiative of the new creation of some of these. We can have joy and peace with Venus. Venus loves joy and peace, but she's in retrograde and she's about to rise on the eastern horizon as Lucifer. So she's a woman of war here and action. There is deception and scams, and then there is the uncovering of those things. So we're really at the cusp of the veil. We're in the veil almost, and ready to be birthed into something new. So the veil is very, very thin right now, and the two worlds can be really colliding, and we could feel that energy as it begins to manifest, of these two worlds coming together. You know, it is the spiritual world and it is the physical world. And that has been always with us through history. The belief in God, the creator, Allah, and the energetic forces that there is something beyond ourselves that is greater than ourselves. And so these two worlds are really coming together at this point. But it is going through the sign of Aries, and that makes it hot, makes it dramatic, and it bursts our bubble. Like, sort of like, are you kidding me that it's that? So the veil can drop and the disillusionment or the belief system that we've been under can present itself and falsehoods come to light. Now, when you find out about something that's been transpiring behind the scenes, like somebody having an affair with your husband or wife, that provokes you to anger. And that is what Aries is. So we are not only birthing something new in the throes of this energy, but we also are in a very volatile time when we can become angry over the deceptions, angry over the promises made and not kept, the lies, the persuasions, the coercion, the illusions that are all around us. And this can be the undoing of the old, and contributing to the ingress of Pluto into Aquarius and the unraveling of this thing that has been created that has been nothing more than a lie. And so Aries is an independent, fiery sign. It triggers quickly to anger, but it also triggers quickly to innovation or action. So it is in the birthing process and the birth of something like a beautiful child or a cute little puppy, there is a fight for life, for breath, and to come into creation. It is to belong now, to become a part of, as you see that all life does this. There is this understanding that I am. that I exist, and I am present, and I am important. So with Neptune here in Aries, we get this spirit of this faith that we all are important, that I now belong and should be counted. So Aries is the first zodiac sign. It is the cusp here is the alpha and the omega. You know, when Mother Earth begins to awaken and competition begins, and it's full of life. It's not like we are angry that the weed is trying to take over the plants. This is just the naturalness of Mother Nature, that the nature and animals are in competition, and animals are in competition to seize that little bit of light that is filtering through, and as the ground begins to open up and things are birthed. So just like this new moon, the seeds are beginning to be planted, and they're going to come up and they're going to nourish themselves, and they need to watch that they're not snuffed out by something else, because Aries is quick. Like Aries wants to start, but it doesn't mean it finishes. So this is a pivotal time where the strong will survive. The people who are courageous will begin to survive. So there is a passion here, an excitement, uh, like something new is coming. And it is in initiatives, new initiatives. So just like when you listen to the preacher at the pulpit, he inspires, he motivates, he encourages. And that's very much what this energy is all about. There is a quickening, and that's things are going to start. Like we can feel this energy, and some of it is positive, but some of it is angry. So when things end, like the discovery of something, and when something is ending, we may be spurred to anger, but we also are opening to new possibilities. So we're going to push forward with agendas individually. Now you got to ask yourself, whenever somebody is talking to you now with this energy, who are you thinking about here? Is that your agenda, or is that the agenda of and the well-being of the entire group of people, each individual? So we can have this problem going on here of certain individuals, because Aries is a sign of individuality. What are your motives? What is your passion about here? Is it for your own gain, your own personal gain, or is it for something larger than ourselves, which is Neptune? And so that is a real battle that is emerging here with this Neptune. Neptune is vague. It's full of illusions. It's a wonderful planet in the sense of spirituality and your spiritual journey. It is a mirage filled with hopes, illusions, dreams of the future. And just like the magician, it tricks the eye. And is it real? Was it there or wasn't it? It can appear and disappear just like that. And so you need to be aware and the ability to be flexible in your thoughts, your feelings. because Neptune is very much about the intuition, the psychic. So this also rules the other worlds, the spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, the ghosts, the different dimensions, the angelic realms, and realms that we have no awareness of. It is faith and belief based. And faith and belief can spur an army to its goals and aspirations. Pure faith can move mountains. And that is why this Neptune moving into Aries is pivotal in redirecting energy and moving energy. And the power that we hold within us is the thing that is going to conquer, which is Aries. It's the thing that's going to manifest. The belief in something that we cannot see. So in biblical texts, if you have the faith, Jesus said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move that mountain. You can calm that wind. And so that is why this is so really important. Neptune rules the mystic, the psychic, the metaphysical. It is psychology and perception. And it's highly susceptible to deception, lies, scams, betrayals, even though betrayal is more a Scorpio thing. So we glamorize this. If you go to the tarot card reader and she's all dressed up like the gypsy, you have a little more ability to believe in what she says because she looks the part. There is this yearning and desire and longing, especially because Venus is here, to experience something other than what's just happening here in life. The energy of Earth is very dense. This dimension is very dense. It's very heavy. So any ability to lift ourselves or to rise above this dense energy is very inspirational. We are fascinated by these things. We are influenced by them. Now, because Mercury's here, we are going to be influenced, persuaded, tucked into. And that reminds me of the markets, where there's the snake oils. This will cure you. They rest on the ability to tap into your psychic that this could actually heal you. The placebo effect. There are promises of redemption, forgiveness. But what do I need to sacrifice? Because Aries quite often needs to initiate some response before I can realize that dream. So we have here the sacrificial lamb. We have victimization. And yet we have the savior influence of, come, listen to me. I will save you. I will bring you to awareness, like the cult leader. And in that, we are not saved, we are enslaved. So there's a great deal of hope here, motivation that is clouded by smoke and mirrors. Now, the news media are pivotal here because Mercury is here. So be wary of what you believe in those newscasts or anybody on YouTube social media, or any other platform. In the positive, this is magnificent for the individual who are enslaved, perhaps. There are miracles, extraordinary experiences, manifestation, and going beyond this reality and creating a new one. There is courage here that is filled with the vision. Now, Mars rules Aries, and Mars is very aggressive, energetic. It's got a lot of stamina to get out there and push forward at all costs initially, but it quite often runs out of steam here because we get lost. What was our point again? What were we supposed to be doing? Why are we doing this? And then we could move on to something else very quickly. Mars is fierce component. So it's interesting also that as Neptune moves here, just like we awaken in Mother Earth with the spring equinox, we are competitive. We are aggressive. We could be shoving. We could be loud because of our Mercury connection. We are eager. There is do it now mentality. Quickly get it done now, or we won't get it done. To initiate, sign those agreements, figure out what we want to buy and purchase now before it's too late and they disappear and we won't be able to get them again. Like certain tariffs that are coming into effect. Hurry, buy that piece of machinery. Hurry, you better build that house. Hurry, you better buy that vehicle before there are no more left. Mars is also very argumentative, so we can find ourselves pushing the buttons. What do you mean that you don't have that? Why not? How do I get it? Where do I get it? It's forceful, aggressive, and it doesn't necessarily relent until it's in a great big fight. And that can actually happen. Wars, disagreements, fighting, rhetoric, falsehoods on why we're doing this. Yeah, just remind me again why we're killing people. Is there a point? Is there a purpose? Or am I led to believe that? So this can produce crisis, a crisis point for reasons that we get, but we don't remember once we're in there. Just like the Second World War, did they really, what am I doing here again? Why am I here? So it's positive and they have to be reminded and reinforced, and it has to continue. It's assertive, manipulative to some degree, and persuasive. So Neptune in Aries. So we have this Aries aggressive and we have this birthing of something new. Now when you put Neptune into Aries, what is going to happen? So the most recent connection to this, of course, is April 13th of 1861, the day after the first shot was fired for the Civil War in America. And this started to shift the dynamics of the whole stability of how people operated. And, prior to this, some people just ignored the concept of slavery, didn't exist, not happening. It's out of our sphere So why the North came to fight for the enslavement of the individual slave is pretty miraculous. Just like we are not aware today of the human trafficking that is going on, and the things that are floating outside of our periphery. Yes, we're aware that that happens, but we're not really involved in it. So some of those things could be coming to the surface. Why are these things happening, and for what purpose? So individual rights is prime importance here. I have the right to exist. I am a person. And we could go to war for those principles, and those belief systems that everyone should have the right to life, liberty, and freedom. And happiness, apparently, it says in the Constitution of the United States. So here we have also this increased activity with this fighting for this certain belief system. And whether it's real or not, it can produce a real struggle within our own psychic abilities, and our belief is strong enough, and we've been perhaps persuaded enough, or we want to make changes and birth something different, that we would be willing to sacrifice our lives and put our lives on the line in order to create that. So this pushes us to a great degree of how far we're willing to go in order to create the illusions or the dreams that we have for the world, and what that's going to take. And the principles behind it. Now, this isn't the first go around for us humans, and maybe our knock ourselves on the head. What part of this don't you get yet? But this is definitely the dawning of something that is willing to move mountains simply because of faith and determination. So there is a force here, not only to sacrifice, but to survive. And to understand that each individual is important. But not only that, we identify with I am in the group setting as well. Like, I am a Christian. I am Muslim. I am Orthodox. So there is that collection of people, but also the identity of I belong to a country. I am Canadian. I am American. I am European. I am Australian. I am Russian or Ukrainian. So there's the identifiable notion of I am in those concepts as well. So Neptune is going to drop this veil, and realizations are going to surge forward. And in many respects, the truth is going to be exposed. Now, this doesn't come in a wave of a whole thing happening necessarily. It can be sparked by one incident, one event that happens, just like the First World War, one event that triggers this wave of newness to emerge. So there's new initiatives here because Neptune is really part of the health and healing modalities as well. So first we've got this whole belief system that is emerging that could really send us into this really aggressive stance and determination. And we've got Mercury and Venus there. So we know that that's going to be involved, especially in this first wave before Neptune goes retrograde. Now, Neptune is about health, healing, and the pharmaceutical industries. So we could actually see a big push here that no, in the previous 165 years, advancements of science and surgeries and the healing modalities certainly moved at record paces. And now it's not that we're shifting back necessarily to old things, but there could be the emerging of two and the choice that we have to do that. Do I want to be involved in herbology or the pharmaceutical companies could be taking that on as well. But there is a big initiatives here of understanding that you just can't go to the doctor and grab a pill, that that's not going to work anymore, that we actually have to take responsibility for our own health as the individual. Like you are responsible for your health. And perhaps in future years, in this 165-year span, that, or in the next 14 years, I should say, that you have to take that responsibility. Just like they've said it with smoking, which is ruled under Neptune. Look at, like, it could get to the point where if you're a smoker, we're not going to treat you in the health system. You're a liability. And it could come down to some of those things as well. Like, look at, like, we're not going to do this. It's not like there's not going to be anything available. Most likely, we're going to start to build new platforms for those types of things. So we're going to have a real shift here with your health. And the healthcare system, in that it could be individually based as well, not so much group based, that more people are staying in their homes, looked after individually, and a real push for that, and looked after by families, actually. So there's a direct action here also with the pharmaceutical companies. There could be new drug formations, or that there are new discoveries or new medications that are actually really quite positive. And they could also deal with things like drug addictions, and spirit is telling me the aging process, but also drug, alcohol addictions. And I really hope that comes on board, because that would be fantastic for these individuals who are suffering with these addictions. So new treatments could come. Also, the treatment of the individually, like you are not like Sam. You can't all lump us into the same mold, and that you may need something different than this person. So an individual approach. There is transparency to scams and scandals, and that could bring on board new initiatives for detecting these things, especially through modalities like computer technology, and or people. There's going to be some tattletales here that are going to start to emerge if somebody is if there's a lot of propaganda that is false or lies, that's going to be coming out. But there's also more scandals and scams and a lack of transparency that is coming as well. So do be cautious of what you believe in. There's a manifestation of new ways of living. How do I personally want to live? Do I want to live like everybody else? or do I want to kind of do my own thing? And this is that community thing linked in with Pluto as well. There is self-sacrifice here and the willingness to do so on behalf of a greater belief system or fight. And that could be down to the basics that you're willing to go to war on behalf of somebody where there's an injustice, where there has been deception, where there has been manipulation, that you're willing to back that individual. And so there's susceptibility to be persuaded also to assist others. You know, there's a lot of things that people could be latching on to or starting to believe in. The psychic, the metaphysical, the angelic, of course, as apparitions, ghosts, more popularity with that. You know, the whole Victorian era and, you know, card reading, fortune telling, those types of things could be emerging strongly. And that it's popularity that is starting to emerge. The thing also we must be cautious of is assassinations. Assassinations are ruled by Neptune. You don't know who's up on the roof shooting that lone individual there in the crowd. And so we could have more of that beginning to manifest or more activity. There's also banishment, exclusion. Now, this could be due to diseases that are beginning to spread quite rapidly and the need to be isolated or confined for some reason. And disease, bacteria, those types of things, new ones could be emerging because of Aries. That most likely will cause a lot of inflammation, burning sensations, you know, nervous system issues that could be coming on board. And that could be resistant to antibiotics. You know, Neptune and with this fiery energy of Mars could also cause some water issues as well. That the water is warming, and we already know that, but there could be increased humidity and the triggering of more storms because of heat, humidity, and storms. So we could definitely see that, and as a result of that heat and humidity, see more flooding happening. Commonwealth alliances, the alliances and the contracts and the treaties that we have, not only with each other on a world stage, but also within the country, the treaties with the Indigenous people, both Canada and the United States. And I don't know about Australia, but maybe Australia. Those treaties and contracts that were signed as Venus is attached to this Neptune connection. And so we need to really watch for that, because if treaties are broken, we could really see that emerge, that certain Indigenous groups or groups of people that have been giving treaties or certain rights may actually uh, initiate a lot of action in connection to that. You know, jails also are ruled by Neptune, and the housing or the isolation that is associated with jails and the individual. And we could definitely see the emergence and the awareness of certain activities that are going on in these private places, that where people begin to rally and stand up for those individuals in their eye. There's dreams and visions here, of course, but there's also retreats. Like, man, like I just need to get away. I just need to withdraw. I need to just take my time and figure out what I believe in now, because I've been on this rat race for so long that I don't even know who I am. So I want to figure that out. So there could be a quickening or a impulse to do those types of things. There is distilleries and people who make their own booze, and also people who work in herbology like I do and medicines like that, that could also see a huge burst forward. And so these aren't new concepts, these are old concepts, but the disillusionment of the medical system and the health system now could be bottom falling out of it, really. And that we move towards those things and the individual responsibility. I cannot stress this enough, and it is also due to some other factors as well, that people, we all need to take responsibility. And believe me, I like a chocolate bar, same as you do. I love sweets, in fact. But we all need to sort of really take this on and not and to be responsible. So you could actually see more alternative health care workers going into some of those old things like Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. I've heard quite a few people going into being a Chinese medicine practitioner, um, and or herbologist or herbology or dietitian, ways of eating, ways of healing your own body and doing those types of things. So we could see retreats popping up with those visions as well. And we could be glamorizing something here that just pops up out of the blue, and we think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And we could all be doing it and then reflect back in 20 years on that and go, wow, like what were we doing? So those things take hold, like tea drinking or you know, tulip watching or one of those crazy things that emerge. There is an increase and technologies coming forward for the decrease of deception, deceit, and deceivers. So that's why psychics get a bad rap, because are they really telling me the truth? Or if they told you something, is it believable? And this is something that you really need to take into consideration, because I do readings. And if somebody is feeding you a bunch of BS, please get up and leave the room. Don't get drawn into something that doesn't make any sense at all and doesn't seem to pertain to you or be relevant to you in any way, shape, or form. So be aware of that. There's fascinations and there's manias coming. Pisces and Neptune are very creative. And that's why we take drugs to escape, but also that creativity emerges with them, like ashwagandha and those types of things. There's this awareness that emerges that goes holy. And so this awareness could actually lead to new inventions, like we did with photography, right? The television, and the ability to transpose something somewhere else. And is it real? Well, of course, nobody's in your TV. but there is the illusion that there is somebody there. So this could really spur on the innovation of very creative activities, music, the arts, and new waves of likes and dislikes within that. Even the movie theater and the theater or the Hollywood is going to be impacted by this. New initiatives going forward there as well, and new movies and new likes of certain things, new ways of dancing, new ways of just being creative. And so, yeah, and just being me. Like, I want to dress like this. I don't want to dress like everybody else in the universe. I just want to be me. That's what this says. And I want to have the ability to just create my own sphere of living. So, of course, most importantly is the oil and gas industry, and to some extent, the electricity or the service of these services to the individual. So the oil and gas industry is really prominent here, and the energy source that really fuels North America and even into South America and really the whole world, whether that is gas or whether that is oil for our cars and plastics and other products. So, this definitely is the fight for transparency, and new initiatives begin to emerge here with that industry. And it could be related to environmental industry ideologies because Pluto is in Aquarius. So we could see a real shift here of everybody pulling back and really keeping it in their own country and or the ownership of their own country. And right now, with the tariffs that are coming in between the United States and Canada, it wouldn't surprise me necessarily if Canada shoots a pipeline across our nation over to the east instead of routing it through the United States and back up to the east. So, in new initiatives with those and the gas industry as well, and because Mercury is there, trade agreements for those products as well. So, the gas and oil industry are going to be impacted here, along with hydroelectric power. So, Neptune rules things like hydroelectric power and the power grid there. And we could see some action and some innovative technology emerging. Hydrogen and hydraulics come with this movement as well. There are lots of inventions, and they say that inventions come because it is the mother of necessity. And that's why we invent, really. And that really holds true here with Neptune merging into Aries. And Neptune demands action. And so this could either be positive or negative reasons why something is dissolving and something new is being created. And there is. We're ending and we're beginning. Water is very important, not only with the oceans and heating up and flooding and humidity, but also with areas of just larger bodies of water and or toxicity, poisons, leakages, spills, oil and gas spills, maybe even in the oceans. And so we need to be aware of these things emerging. There is exposure here, like, the emperor with no clothes. There is the illusion that he believed he was wearing clothes, but everybody knew he wasn't. So we have this exposure to certain people's activity. Now, how this emerges, whether that's some more spying and more exposure to our day-to-day lives, and somebody watching us could also begin to manifest. There's a romantic energy here, a romanticism. And so things we like and love are going to change and be rearranged. And what we really romanticize over, uh, however that manifests, whether that's love, lust. Um, there is also, you need to be wary of cults, cult leadership, and being drawn into something that you don't know what that is exactly. And cult detachment is really difficult to obtain. So just be wary of that, the belief in something, the susceptibility of being drawn in. Preaching, guiding, and service, and religion is in here as well. So different types of religion and belief systems could begin to emerge. All kinds of practices like meditation, yoga, transmediumship, telepathy, all of them we could grab hold of, seances, uh, and begin to get really attracted to that sort of thing. And so for me, that's a good thing because that's what I do. But Mars here in this first ingress is in Cancer. And so definitely the land is impacted here. Protection, sovereignty issues, identity issues are part and parcel of this first ingress moving in, which is powerful. This is very powerful movements that are happening right now. And March is pivotal because of the two eclipses, the spring equinox, and then it's back to back to back movements of things that are coming. And so we still feel like we're in no man's land. We don't know where we stand. We don't know what's going to transpire. Some of us are just ignoring the issues, listening to music and doing our own thing here. However, we do need to be cautious about fighting for what we believe in. And the purpose behind that is individual rights and the individual right to exist. And that is really important at this time. So we need to be consciously aware of that. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you right there. And I am going to cut this off because it's probably long enough already. And you guys probably have got sick of listening to me. And then we are going to talk about this again next in October a little bit as Neptune moves back into Pisces, where we get swept back into this old reality. And then we begin to rearrange it, rethink about it, and rebirth it in January of 2026. So I'm so happy you visit me on and off, and I will let you go. Chat with you later. Bye.